So we have seen already a quick introduction on flows. Just I will do a recap. Flows also, um, sorry, flows basically when initial stage it has been launched in Salesforce. It has been used as a screen flows. That means when you have anything that has to run on screen by screen, like let's say you have a 10 screens. So this 10 screens has to come one after other, or some screens will be dependent on your selection that you had done on the before screen. And and then you have to either go back to the previous screen, or if you want to go to the next screen, if you have such kind of a criteria there before it is used as a flows. But there are a lot of enhancement and features has been introduced on the flows, and there are a lot of categories. Now they are configured as automated flows, screen flows, record triggered flows, schedule flows, or flows calling from Apex or a process builder. So there's so many things are happening, and now it's becoming kind of a virtual coding. So when I'm saying virtual coding, so something or any logic that you have to write code for it, you cannot achieve with a drag and drop. Let's say when using a workflows, what you can do, you can send an email alert, you can do a record update, you can create a task, or you can send an outbound message. While in process builder, these actions become more, and it has a multiple criteria that can be tested one after other, and which will avoid multiple workflows. So the number of actions has been increased, or like the same actions also become more powerful. Let's say creating a task. So in the workflows, we only create a task, and we cannot create any other record. While in process builder, not only a task, you can create any record. So either it's related to the record that you've taken, or it is not related to the record that you've taken. You can create those records. But when you want to create a record which is um, related to a let's say, let me take um, so when you're trying to create a record, so what all we have to do? So if it's a primitive data types that are like if it is a text, quickly number, checkbox, which are all not dependent on any other record, where you can give directly input, those records are fine. But you want to have some lookups to some other objects. Um, let's say, hmm, so our example, let's say I have a object called a project, and next to the project, I mean, the child of the project is resource, and what else we having? We're having project log. Let's say I'm not having as of now. Let's say if I have something called a resource billing, resource billing, and I have one more object called billing cycle or something. So, cycle. So resource parent is a project, and project log parent is a project, and there are two parents. Resource billing will have a lookup to a billing cycle, and there is a one more lookup to a resource. So like it has to be a resource like to whom we are doing the billing. So what happened to if I want to create a resource billing? So I have a resource I can create. So I need to map to a billing cycle as well. This billing cycle nowhere related to the project resource or project log. So when I'm trying to create a record from a project, whenever I or like whenever the new resource added to the project, I had to add one record called a resource billing. So this resource billing is, let's say they're having a monthly billing. So they want to know what are all billing for the specific month or quarter or a sprint. What are work they're trying to do. They want to categorize those billing. So what they're doing in the billing cycle was, let's say if they're having a paycheck of sprint wise of 2 weeks. So what they will do was, okay, sprint XYZ, they create one billing cycle, and what all they have to do was for every resource to like whom they want to bill for those sprint. Similarly, for every sprint, they have to create the record in the resource billing. Fine. Now, when I want to create a thing from a project in a resource billing, whenever a new resource is added with like a zero numbers, and whenever they have spent some time on the project logs, I want to add the numbers here. But default, I want to add a one dummy record or like a empty record. When they are spending time, the hours will be updated. So to do this, even though if we can do with the process builder, the problem was when there is a non-related object, something called a billing cycle. So we can refer all the objects that are related to a child, parent, or how many levels we can go using a process builder. If something we want to get data from an unrelated object and use the data from that object, which is not possible in the process builder. Always it will refer to a related either parent records or child records. It will give all the records. From the all records, you can filter like apply changes to only a specific data. But when you're trying to create a record, you cannot query or you cannot use the data from object which is nowhere related to the current object. So in those scenarios, the flows will help where you can query from any of the object and use the data. Okay, updating those records. And you don't have an option to delete the records in a process builder. Obviously, you don't have in a workflows, but in flows, you have option to delete the records. And while in process builders, based on record changes, you can do operations, right? Like whenever I said like when record changes are happened, then only you can make the changes. So you don't have control before it is hitting the database or after hitting the database. That means when you have option to before hitting the database, what will happen was it does not need extra DML. Let's say, so let's say one record. So one record is did a save. When the record is saved, what will happen was it will be sent to it will be sent to DB. database, and after sending it to a database, when there is no failure, then only it will commit the changes. Commit. So what is the difference between saving it to database and commit? So what is the difference is, let's say you have saved a record and there are some logics you have written. The logic is on workflows or process builder, or you have some triggers or custom codes that will run. And then have any question on that? Okay, so
Yeah, actually, your voice is breaking. Actually, is it just me or it's? I don't know.
is it for everyone? Hello.
No, Bala.
Yeah, you please
I can hear.
continue.
Okay.
Mm.
Check anyone's like, is it something with your connection or anything? Okay. Let me know if still you face the issue. Okay, so when the record saves to the database, so what will happen was we have some logics. When there is a record change happen, you have workflows, process builders, and you have some custom logic that need to be executed. So once all these logics are completed, if nothing has failed, then it will commit to the database. So this commit, but what it will save to the database, and if there is any failure happen in your logics or in your automations, what will happen was what are all the saved to database, it will be rollback. That means the changes will not be committed to the database. Even though that's saved, that will be rollback automatically. That means, let's say if you have created a resource record and you written some logics on a project, saying that so on, if the project resources are reached 100, then don't allow to create a new resource. Some validation you have added. So what will happen once you save the project resource record, it will save to database, and then it will roll up. So there will be a roll up we have read, which will count the resources, and it has roll up to the project and saved as a let's say 101, and you have written a validation rule on the project saying when the this roll up is more than 100, give a validation error. A project is allowed to have a 100 active resources. And what will happen, you have given error. So because you have given error, so the thing was rollback. So it will be not saved to the database. It will be removed from the database and it will throw an error. So let's say if you have only 90 resources, so it will check all those, it will roll up to 91, and there's no violation rule files and there's no errors, so it's completed. Then it will commit to the database. So when we are saying before things, that means even before hitting the database, that means while using flows, you have an option to before save to database, and so next one is after save to the database. So what is the advantage here was, So what is advantage was, so let's say if you're writing a field update on a workflow, what will happen? You will save the record to the database. So directly it will come here. There is no before step. And after it's saving the database, it will fire the workflow. And okay, there's some changes happen. So again, do a update. So what will happen again when you have a save after save, if you have some logic over here saying on a workflow field update, then what happened based on this update, if you have n- not even if you have or not, it will start from here. So it will start from here again. What are the you had made changes, what are all changes you have made. So because it's again it's record saving, right? Again it will go to the database. And if you have anything, the checkbox called reevaluate the workflows, again what are all the workflows on this record, those will be fired again. Again it will be coming to the first step, and it will again save to the database. So when you have this recursive reevaluate the workflow check, what will happen was, if you have some criteria uh, which will make a field updates to the other workflow, because of the changes, if some other workflow is hitting, what will happen was it will become a recursive workflow. I'm just explaining this topic while we are here. So this will continue. What happens was, the concept what I'm trying to do was, so workflow field updates will always happen only after saving the record to the database. And similarly, the process builder also fired only record is saving to the database. So what will happen was, it's do a one more save to the record. Once record is saved and saved to the database, then it will do a new field update. That means make some changes to the record and save the record. So it will start again. So when you have a concept of before save to database, what will happen was, before without doing a one more DML, that means when you're trying to save the record, so before it is reaching to the database, you have an option to do some logics. So in that logic, whatever you do, you can do only on the same record. Why? Because only that record is going to save. So what you can do is, you can make changes to the fields of that record only. If you want to save to the parent record or child record, that cannot be possible because those records are not getting changed. The only record getting changed was whatever the record of the object that you are saving. You can make changes to any of those fields. Let's say you have 10 fields on the record saying a project resource, and you have made only changes to the two fields. And in the before save logic, you can change all the 10 fields. It doesn't mean that you can only change only those two fields are changed. It's not like that. So when you're saying a database, it will go as a record. It's not only the field wise, it will not go. So when the what will happen was, remaining 8 fields is remain as is. However, it is before, it will be as is. Only the two field has been changes. So when you have a logic that are on these two fields as well as other fields also, you can modify all these 10 fields as you wish, and then leave it. So automatically it will save it to the database. So what will happen? So what all you make changes and what all the actual end user made changes, everything will be saved to the database. And there is no recursiveness. Why? Because you are not saving again. In the same save, you're making some changes and saving it to a database. So that is the concept of a before save to a database. Okay. So here, when you're having a before save, there is again the concept of a record value and record prior value, where you will identify which fields are changed. So we are doing automation right here. You We are not guaranteed that how many fields are changed, or like from what value to what value it has been changed, and you don't have all this information. Only thing you will be having was a record that is coming for database for a save, and what is the prior version of the record. So you can, so whatever the automation you want to check, like when the value so of so and so field is changed from value X to value Y, then make these changes. Or you don't or you don't worry about any of those things, and you want to do some calculation of the values that they provided in the for the record. Let's say they given some subscription and they given some subscription fee. Let's say you want to give for those subscriptions, you want to always give a 15% discount. That is all your theme was. You don't worry about anything that they do. Only thing was one field you have to calculate something and do. So what you have to do, so always whenever it is saved, it could be workflow or process builder, wherever it is being saved, all the time it is being saved. Before save, you want to do this calculation and save in that discount field. So you can add this logic. So it does not depend on the action. Is always dependent on the fields. Some field data, calculate using those fields and put it in the some other field. That's it. So in those scenarios, you can use a before updates. Okay. Any questions here? Let's jump onto this flows and create some, and we'll close it. So on the other day also, I have shown there are multiple flows that we can create. That is schedule flow, record-based changes, flows that can be fired from other logics, and platform events, screen flows, obviously. So these are the 5 basic types of flows. So when you're doing a screen flow, you will be having a screens. That means a display screens. So it will not continuously go. And once it open, it will go to the first screen. And if you have any inputs, you have to enter the inputs. Then you have to go to next, and then whatever there in the second screen you have to do, and at the last screen you will be having a finish button. And between the screens you can have some backend logics as well. Okay, that's a screen flow, and the screen flow can be launched from some button. That button, so we can create a, so let's say if we have a object called a project, and in that object manager we have an option to create some custom actions and buttons. So there you will be have option to select the flow. So here it's a button links and action where you create a new action where you have an option to launch the flow, this flow. So screen flows you can launch like this. So you can create a button, and once you create the button, you need to add it to the layout. So once you in the record page, once you click on the button, the screen flow can be launched. And similarly, and you have a URL or some link, and if you want to place it in your any of the components or anywhere, you can just click that so that the flow screen flow can be launched. Fine. Now, record triggered flows. This all not launched from somewhere. Whenever some changes happens to your records, like your workflow and a process builder, similarly, when you have some changes happen, like created or updated or deleted, so this flows will be automatically fired, and what all you have, it will be executed. Okay. Next, schedule trigger flow. So uh, when you have a record changes, so we have immediate actions and time-based actions, right? Like in workflows and process builders, we have immediate actions and time-based actions. So you can do both in this record trigger flows, but those will be queued after so and so changes happens to the record. Only if the record is being touched, then only those will be triggered. While in scheduled trigger flows, what will happen was you will do a scheduling. So daily or monthly or yearly when you want to schedule this. And once you have the schedule, so every time when the time comes, it will execute. It will not dependent on the particular record. but it will be on the frequency or the time what you have been set in the schedule. For every schedule, it will run this job. So when it's running means it will start from that your flow branch. So it will start from that start node, and what all you have the a route map for this flow, it will execute all those and finish. That's it. And it will be fired on a schedule basis based on your schedule. And platform events, if you have any platform events fired on the fire of the platform event only, this will be executed. So auto launch flow. So when you want to fire the flow from a process builder or from any of your Apex code or triggers, if you want to call something in the backend, so the screen flow is launching the flow from somewhere in the UI. If you want to click something, then you want to show the screen and feel something, and then only the automation will happen. This is the backend logic that will be fired from anywhere from your you can see the list here. Launches and invoke the from Apex or a different process or REST API or more from anywhere from the code, and this will also execute in the backend. There's no screens. So all these codes will be executed in the backend except the screen flow. Okay, let me quickly create some flows. Let's say first I'm going with the screen flow and add it to the screen. For everything, just it's for a easy purpose. One is a free form, one is a auto layout. We'll go with the free form first, and then I will show what is the automated grid. Okay, so this is the screen flow. Okay, so it will be starting from here. Okay, before you have to drag, you want to add one more screen. Okay, I want to add one screen here. So I want to give a label of this flow. um, let's say I want to um, update company info. Okay, fine. Description on here. So here I want to update the customer info. What I have, partnership I have. So there are like two ways of adding the elements to the screen. One is you have to. This is kind of a just a UI thing. Let's say here I have a number of employees I want to update. Let's say so. This is a number, right? So I have to add some number field here, and this number field you have to update the number of employees, and you will if you want to give any default value, you can give here. I don't have any default value, and in it fields I have like customer office address. Okay. Not this one. Office address. Okay, I don't have any default value. I'm doing it done. So this is what I'm going to have a screen, and after the screen, excuse me, I want to add one more screen saying Thank you, Sneha. Yeah, I want to display a text which is thanks for updating customer information. Gold. Okay, done. Thanks message. So hope you're following it. So after the screen, this is a thank you screen. So that's all I need. So if you have observed, I am not saving it to a database. You have taken the information and so actually I should have one more logic here, which is not screen, that I need to update this logic to a record. For now, I'm just not doing that. Customer information. Save. And I'm doing activate. Now, when I'm trying to create a custom action here, flows. Um, New action, have a flow. So one customer information. Now I see the flow now. Label has to be update customer info and do a save. Okay. Now what I have to do? Now I have to add it to the layout. Okay. Now I'm going to a page layout. That's fine. The lightning buttons. I need to add this new button. Lightning and actions. Want to update customer info. I want to add it just to this here and do a save. If I look at the record here before, you see only the create new project resource. Still there only you have option. So when I do a refresh, now you will see a new button called a update customer information. On click of this, it will launch this new flow. So what are the title that you gave and what are all the two fields you give. So I see here I want to give 400 and I will give it as a, I'll update this and do a next. And it's giving a thank you message. But what we are not doing, we are not applying or not saving that to the current record. We are not saving that information. So if you want to save that information, what you have to do was you have to update the records. First thing was, whenever you show the screen, you have to pick up the values from this record. And let's say now I have 500 and I have Hyderabad here. So I want to pick up these values and show it on the flow. And after making the changes, the values has to be saved to this fields. Okay, I think it's almost going to end this one. So let's continue and once you join back.